Sentire Media.
This episode is brought to you by the Smart Move Italy app, your free tool for planning, moving, and thriving in Italy. Download it today on iOS and Android. Well, hello there, and welcome back to another episode of A New Life in Italy. I'm your host, Samantha Wilson, and today's episode is one I wish someone had sat me down and explained before I made the move. Now, I've been here a long time, well over a decade, and although back then there were very few people to help explain everything to us, the processes today are still very much the same. Because here's the truth, moving to Italy isn't actually the hardest part, moving here. In fact, the idea of moving is actually quite exciting and motivating. Getting the visa, planning the move, packing up your life, saying goodbye, all of that feels very big. And it is, but that's not the hardest part. The hardest part is what happens after you arrive, the first 30, 60, 90 days. And I want you to listen all the way through this episode because if you're planning to move, or if you've just arrived, or even if you've been here for a few months and something feels just a little off, well, this episode is going to help you understand exactly what is happening, why it feels the way it does, and most importantly, how to move through it without thinking you've made a mistake. Are you ready? Let's get into it. I'm Samantha Wilson, and this is A New Life in Italy, a show for people who love Italy and are quietly trying to figure out what it would really take to build a life here. We talk honestly about the practical choices, the emotional shifts, and the parts of this journey that don't always get talked about, so that you can move forward feeling informed, grounded, and more confident. If you're somewhere between dreaming and doing, you are in exactly the right place. Now, let's get into today's show. So let's start with a little confession. When we moved to Italy well over a decade ago, we had no idea what to do. It took us a while to get here. My husband and I were both dual British citizens, so no visa was required back then because it was before Brexit. However, our youngest son, who was just a teenager at that time, was only Canadian. So he required a permesso di soggiorno based on the fact that he was a dependent of an EU citizen. And I had no idea what that was. Nothing. I had no idea what it was. I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know what to do. And back then there were very little resources. I didn't obviously speak Italian. And I had the attitude that I know a lot of people still do that, well, it can't really be that hard, can it? And everything will just kind of work out. Within a few weeks, I realized that we needed some help. And so we hired someone to help us. And we sent them reams of documents. And then there was kind of nothing. It was just crickets. Very little communication, no explanation, just quick calls to say that we had either made a mistake or ran out of time. It's a long story, and I won't bore you other than to confess that we made some very critical errors. We overstayed the 90 days before confirming my residency to support my son's permesso di soggiorno. We lost our declaration of presence. We never registered his residency properly at the anagrafe after, and he lost years from his eligibility to apply for citizenship. And of course, other mistakes that I have probably convinced myself to forget. So I get it. I get what you're feeling. And I've been exactly where you are or have been. And I know from the thousands of people that we speak to that there is a lot of misinformation out there, which can lead to some pretty horrible outcomes. So let's set the stage and help you move and settle in without mistakes. And so here's how it looks. You will arrive in Italy, and at first, it's exactly as you imagined. The light feels different. The air feels different. Even going to the grocery store is kind of exciting. You're walking through piazzas thinking, oh my God, I actually did this. And then something shifts, not dramatically and not all at once, but very slowly. And you start to feel a little tired, then a little overwhelmed, and then maybe also a little disconnected. And this is the part that no one talks about enough, because there's a dip, and almost everyone goes through it. It's that moment where the adrenaline that you have wears off and real life begins. You're not on vacation anymore. You're building a life here. And building a life in a new country takes energy. It takes patience. and it takes emotional resilience in a way that most people don't expect. And Italy will test you, I promise it will, always. So the first lesson is that there will always be a hill to climb when you're trying to get something official done. And it doesn't go away when you learn the process. It doesn't go away when you become more fluent in Italian. It is a constant. And the reason I'm telling you this so early is because it's just part of your new life now. The first 30, 60, 90 days are the real test. But after, you will ease into it and just know that the price that you're paying for this amazing life is the bureaucracy. And once you accept that price, you'll just pay it and enjoy the benefits like everything else in life. So now that we have that understood, let's talk about the practical side, because this is where things can start to feel a little frustrating very quickly. Now, you've arrived and you need to get things done. You're here on a visa, you need to apply for a permesso di soggiorno within 8 days, and that clock starts immediately. Then you're registering your address, setting up utilities, which you can often only do after your lease is active, opening a bank account, getting your health care sorted, applying for your ID cards. And here's the part that really trips people up, that none of these things exist in isolation. They all depend on each other. And you can't do one without the other, and sometimes you don't even realize what you're missing until you're standing at the counter being told that you need something else first. So you go to one office, they send you to another office, and you finally get an appointment, and then that's like 3 weeks away, maybe months. And you show up with what you think is everything that you need, and then they ask for one more document that you didn't even know about. And on paper, these are just tasks, but in reality, they take time, and a lot of time, and not just time, but energy. Because everything requires your attention, your patience, and often a bit of problem solving in a system that you're still learning. And if you're coming from a place where things are faster or more digital, more predictable, this can feel like you are constantly hitting walls, like nothing is moving, like you're stuck in this loop of waiting and following up and trying to figure out what to do next. And this is the moment where I see people start to panic and question themselves. They start thinking, did I miss something? Am I doing this wrong? Or why is this taking so long? Is anyone doing their job? And I want to just pause you there for just a moment, because most of the time, nothing is wrong. You're not behind. No one is doing it incorrectly. It's just how the system works. It's slower. It's more relationship-based. It's often done in steps that don't always feel logical at first, and quite honestly, sometimes it is not logical. But there is a rhythm to it, and once you start to understand that rhythm, everything becomes a little bit easier. Not faster, necessarily, but easier. Time will help, because when you stop fighting it and you start working with it, and that shift alone can completely change your experience in those first 90 days. And I just want to add something else. The loneliness that you may be feeling is a big one, and it's very real. And I want to say it clearly that you can feel lonely in the most beautiful place in the world. You might not have your usual support system. You don't have your routines. Simple things take more effort. Even a quick conversation can feel like work and super exhausting if you're not fully comfortable in the language yet. And this can catch people off guard because they think, I chose this life. I chose to do this. Why am I feeling this way? But this is a normal part of starting over. And if you're rebuilding your life from the ground up, it's normal and it takes time. Now, here's where I want to shift things a little bit, because there are a few patterns that I see over and over again. And the first is thinking that the hardest part was just getting here, because it's not. Getting here is just step one. The second is trying to do everything at once. You want to set up your home, meet people, learn the language, understand the system, travel, explore, all at the same time. We come from a do-it-now society. We fill every moment of our day with tasks because, well, back in your home country, you had to do this to survive. But here, it's just too much. If you get one thing done in a day, and maybe not every day, you are really succeeding here, I promise. So don't put so much pressure on yourself. Piano, piano, slowly, slowly. Now, the third is trying to do it all alone. And this is a big one because when things start to feel overwhelming, people might get embarrassed, and that will pull them inward instead of asking for help. But this is exactly when support matters the most. Any kind of support, by the way. A friend, a family, a neighbor, or a professional. You have your options. Pick the one that fits your needs. But remember, ask for help when you need it. So now that we know this, let's make this a little more practical for you. If you are in your first 90 days or planning your move, here's how I want you to think about it. For the first 30 days, I want you to focus only on the essentials. That's it. Nothing else. This means your documents. Get them in order. Your legal status. This is immigration. This is the road you need to go down first in your immigration. This means either applying for your permesso di soggiorno or your residency. All of those things to get you legally here. And then think about your basic setup. This is getting comfortable in your home, setting up your utilities, your bank accounts, understanding where the transportation is, knowing your surroundings. This first 30 days is not the time to do everything. It's the time to just get stable. Now, in the next 60 days, so 30 to 60 days, I want you to start building your routine. This means finding your favorite grocery store, sign up for a client discount card. This makes you feel connected. Not only saves you money. Your favorite bar, you need to find this because this will become the center of your life, and it is the center of the community. It's that place where you will find connections that you need. This is where you'll find your plumber and you'll find your electrician. It will be your North Star, so don't overlook the importance of finding your favorite bar. Now start planning your daily rhythm. This is where Italy starts to feel a little bit more like home. Now in 90 days, so 60 to your 90 days, I want you to start expanding your world a little bit. Start meeting people, thinking about meeting people. Introduce yourselves to the shopkeepers and market vendors. Become a regular. Reach out to expat groups, if you like. Go to language schools to meet others, to build your network. Explore more. Go beyond your neighborhood. Find the best day trips outside. Explore the surrounding areas. And this will give you a sense of space and geography where you fit in this big picture. And start creating a life that feels really like yours. And here's the key, that not everything needs to happen immediately. Italy is not a place that you rush. It's a place that you grow into. And when you arrive, you are a little bit like a baby. You're relearning everything, and it's okay because it can be really freeing to be this way. But it's also a little bit intimidating, so try to push yourself just a little bit because no one knows who you are. Nobody knows your history or expects anything from you. So be who you want to be. So if you are in this phase right now or you're planning it, if things feel harder than you expected, or if you've had moments when you've questioned your decision, or if you've thought, maybe I wasn't as ready as I thought I was, I want you to hear this, that nothing has gone wrong. You're not behind. You're not doing it wrong. You are in the exact place that you're supposed to be and the exact phase that almost everyone goes through when they move here. And on the other side of that phase is where it starts to feel real, not like a dream, but like your life. And that's when everything starts to begin. It's time for listener questions. Just like the old radio call-in shows, my team has picked 3 listener questions. I have no idea what these questions are, but I haven't been stumped yet. Are you ready? Let's get started. All right, question time. Question number 1. I'm thinking about buying a property in Italy before I move. Is that a good idea or should I wait? This is a great question. I get it a lot, and I'm just going to repeat kind of what I always repeat. And that is only buy in Italy if you know exactly where you want to live. And a lot of people already do because they've been coming back for years and years, maybe have already made a community, know the location, really know where they want to be. And then I say, yes, focus on buying because this is, a long game here. Buying a property, you can't sell it really quickly after if you don't like it. And this is where you're going to lay your roots. So I always say, if you know where you're living, you want to live, buy first. Otherwise, renting is a really great option to test the waters, get something a little quicker because buying can take about 6 months or so to do. But if you're thinking of buying to move here, to use a property to move here, just remember, last note, you need to have the deed in hand when you apply for your visa. An accepted offer is not suitable. You have to wait until the house closes. So think about that with your timing. All right, question number 2. How much money should I realistically budget for the first year living in Italy? I mean, this is a little bit hard to say because it depends on where you're living and how you like to live and what you expect out of your life here. So I would say, first of all, go to a website called Numbeo, numbeo.com, and it's a user-generated cost converter or comparison tool. So you can put the city you're living in now and then go to where you want to live in Italy, and it'll tell you roughly how much things will cost. So take a look at that, and from there, budget how you want to live and how much money you think you want to spend. One thing I want to remind you of as well is that currency fluctuations do matter. And a little bit here and there doesn't feel much when you're on a vacation, or maybe it does. When you're here and you're expecting the same amount of money every single month and all of a sudden there's a big dip in the currency exchange, this can be quite impactful on your budget. So always give yourself a little bit of a cushion to, prepare for any currency fluctuations. Of course, if it goes the other way, it's in your favor. If you're from the UK, this is usually in your favor. But right now, the world's not always as stable, or right now as stable as it has been. So currencies are tending to move a little bit. Now we have a really good, I'm going to include a link in the show notes where you can speak to Rachel, who's our currency advisor. And they offer also to hold rates. So if rates are really good right now, you can certainly talk to her about trying to hold a rate for you for future. This can save you some money. And question 3, can I rely on public transportation or do I need a car in Italy? Well, again, depends on your lifestyle and your situation, actually, because you can only, once you move to Italy and become a resident, the clock starts on your driver's license, your foreign driver's license, unless it's a European Union one. So if you have an American or Canadian driver's license, they're not exchangeable. That's because in Canada, you get your licenses per province. It's not a Canada driver's license. And same with the US. So you can't exchange Canada for an Italian license. So this is one of the reasons in law you can't do it. But what that also means is that within 12 months of becoming a resident of Italy, you need to have an Italian license. Your foreign license will no longer be valid. And driving on that, if you get caught or get in an accident, you have no insurance and it's a big problem. They can take your car and it's thousands and thousands of euros in penalties. So it's not something you want to do. You want to prepare. So your question, do I need a car? Well, maybe when you're looking for a place to live, always consider that perhaps after the first 12 months, you won't be able to drive a car if you don't pass that license, which is not easy to do. So think about where you're living. You will need a car. Your license will depend on that. And of course, if you decide to buy a car once you are a resident and you need to change your license, remember that after you get your new driver's license, you're a teenager again. So you can only drive little puny cars for 3 years, like a little Fiat Panda, for example. So don't go out and buy your nice, big, gorgeous supercar because you won't be able to drive it for quite a long time. So be mindful of the future, the first after 12 months of being here for the car. A lot of people like to rely on public transportation. A lot of people, their dream is to be car-free. And Italy provides for that. A lot of locations do. A lot of times you don't need a car. There's trains and buses and really great transportation options. But if this is your plan, make sure where you're looking to live provides that. In some places like the south, it's not quite as reliable as center or northern Italy. So keep that in mind when you're deciding on where your new home will be. Before we wrap up, I want to remind you of something. You don't need all of the answers right now. You just need the right questions and the space to think clearly. If this episode helped you feel more grounded or less alone, that's exactly why the show exists. You can find all of the links and the resources that I mentioned in today's episode in the show notes. And if you want to go deeper, head over to smartmoveitaly.com for more ways that we can help you make your move to Italy a whole lot easier. And if you're enjoying the show, subscribing, leaving a review, or sharing it with someone that is also dreaming about Italy helps more than you know. Thanks again for spending time with me. I will see you next week. Ciao for now.
Sentire Media.
Hey, podcast producers and show hosts. Do you want to join a podcast network that celebrates all things Italian? At Sentire Media, we understand the allure of Italy and its unique culture. Our devoted team of hosts and producers are all driven by their shared passion for Italy. And we work tirelessly to create the best lifestyle podcasts and content that will whisk you away to the very heart of Italy. With us, you can savor the mouth-watering flavors, get lost in the stories from the past, break down the cultural barriers, and truly immerse yourself in the vibrant traditions of this intoxicating country. If you have a great podcast idea or are already in production and would like to join Sentire Media, head over to sentiremedia.com. That's SENTIRE media.com and find out how to submit your show.